why it wound up being this, you see, when they got the atomic bomb to working, why they come in for a place and then they selected this right here. At that time, they were living, that is, the people that was assembling this bomb and preparing to shoot it was there at my place. Somewhere around 500 to 700 people, they said there. And living in my house and around it and so forth, you see, with other buildings and so forth.
It began with 15 men in December. By May, there were several hundred civilians and GIs working in secret. At night, nearby ranchers heard gunfire. GIs hunting antelope with submachine guns.
About 1939, I think it was, on the frontispiece of Time magazine, they had a picture of an atom buster at the University of California. And when they shipped the shell in for this experimental detonation down here, why, I said, if I didn't think I was crazy or something, I think maybe they're fooling around with busting atoms or doing something with atomic power. And I was just talking because I certainly didn't know anything about it. I had no conception of what an atomic bomb was or what the violence of it and the strength of it.
When I arrived there, they were in the process of, in the end of May, of constructing a 100-foot tall tower in this desert, which was really a very empty, wasn't sandy, but it was a typical dry, sagebrushy desert with one wall off to the east of rock, and a base camp which had a couple of extra buildings, but which really was just some old ranch houses. People were feverishly setting up wires all over the desert, building the tower, building little huts in which to put cameras and house people at the time the bomb went off. The Army had just accidentally bombed the place a little bit before I got there, but nobody was hurt.
The work had been so frantic that it was a relief to know that it was coming to a conclusion. And we knew that they were preparing the big experiment to see if the gadget, as it was called, would work.
What did you expect?
What did I expect?
Françoise Ulam.
I had mixed feelings. I wanted it to succeed because it would help to end the war. I didn't want it to be dangerous. There was a chance that it would be could be very dangerous.
The 11th of July, 1945, an unmarked Pontiac sedan arrives at the McDonald Ranch carrying the world's entire supply of plutonium, about 10 pounds. The courier demands a receipt, approximate value $1 billion. At Oppenheimer's request, General Groves has made a secret arrangement with the governor of New Mexico to evacuate the state in case of catastrophe.
Now, prior to the shot, back in the lab, there had been some speculation that it might be possible to explode the atmosphere, in which case the world disappears.
Did you sense a lot of anxiety in your brother?
A lot of anxiety in everybody, including my brother, both whether it would work or not work.
Frank Oppenheimer, physicist.
I think mostly that, but also it was a time in which I think his interest in using the bomb to help produce a better world didn't happen just after the war, but he really had hoped that Truman would tell Stalin about it fairly forthrightly. Of course, that didn't happen and set the stage almost at that instant to the Cold War rather than to a warmer humanity. And so I think both of those things everything there was worrying him a great deal.
There was building up tremendous, almost hysterical anxiety. Many people feeling that we couldn't possibly hold the test because every time we tested some component that had to do with the test, it would fail. Everybody was rushing around. Things did not appear to be ready. Yet there did seem to be a certain momentum to the work that was going on that we would make a test. I think it had been put back several times, but on July 16th that there would be the test come hell or high water.
Memo, 11 July, 1700 hours. Both charges completely papered. Work another night shift if necessary to complete this job. Request personnel as necessary. Memo, 12 July, 1600 hours. Seal all holes in case. Wrap with Scotch wrap. Box charges, inner and outer with 2 spares for each. Memo, 13 July, 1300 hours. Assembly starts. Remove polar cap and dummy plug. Gadget now belongs to tamper people. G engineers work until 1600 with active material insertion. Dummy plug hole is covered with a clean cloth and explosives people take over. Insert HE. This is to be done as slowly as the G engineers wish. Remove all chains. Clear the deck.
Well, I expected that what they were working on, they were going to try.
July, 0800 hours. Rig guidelines, lift to tower top. Ready for X unit at 0900. Bring up G engineer's footstool. 14 July, 0900 hours. Wiring of the X unit proceeds under the direction of the explosives people. Tower platform should be tested with concrete weight as per Oppenheimer. Detonators placed to conform with requirements of informer switches. HE people stand by to criticize potential rough handling. Note that once detonators are on sphere, no live electrical connection can be brought to the X unit, informer unit, or anywhere else on the sphere. All testing must be done before sphere is lifted to tower. After that, it is too late. 14 July, 1700 hours. Gadget complete. Should we have the chaplain here? The betting pool cost $1. Edward Teller bet on a blast equal to 45,000 tons of TNT. Oppenheimer bet low, 3,000 tons. And I.I. Robbie put his money on 20 kilotons. Young technicians were horrified to overhear Enrico Fermi taking side bets on the possibility of incinerating the state of New Mexico.
The test was set at midnight. The prediction was there'd be 60-mile visibility and a certain wind pattern. Well, at midnight, it was raining cats and dogs, lightning and thunder. Really scared about this object there in the tower. They set off accidentally. So you can imagine the strain on Oppenheimer, and Robert Oppenheimer does.
I remember it was one of my memories of that time having to go up the tower to turn on a piece of equipment. So I was one of the last, not the last person by any means, but one of the last people to get our equipment that was right next to the bomb, have it all turned on and tested before starting the test. And it was quite dramatic because lightning was striking all around. It was quite a fierce storm going on. In particular, one had a certain amount of respect for that atomic bomb being right next to us. Sparks seemed to be flying. Did give me a little bit of a sense of apprehension.
I think he and I were lying down right next to each other, flat in the desert, right outside the control hut at the time the bomb went off.
And we had prepared ourselves with glass, and when we could hear the countdown, when it went off, we all were looking through the glass, and then we saw what was just a tremendous, overpowering vision of this thing happening, seeing the mountains small beside it, seeing perhaps with some kind of beauty, but awesome was what I would call it, as it slowly developed, went up in the air, and made the whole desert light up as at noon and appear small. A large desert rimmed by mountains appear to be a small place. And that was just something that once that had happened, I was a different person from then on.